Perfect.
All right. So thank you, Eyal. And let's go ahead and move on with the last talk for lunch here. And Stephen Whittier is being smarter than us, and he's out actually flying. So JC has agreed to step in and give his talk on the SBIR work he has done for NOAA.
Okay, so in the room, who's from academia? And any small businesses in the room? All right, good. So I'll give a quick introduction. Is everybody familiar with SBIR, Small Business Innovative Research? All right, so just a quick one. So small business innovative research money usually is awarded in two parts. And it's a way for the government to reach out to small businesses so that small business can help us solve really, really hard problems. Tim Bienstra has been awarded a NOAA SBIR, was very successful in executing it. It's typically in two phases, and a successful one goes to phase 3, meaning it goes out to commercial use or government use. Phase 1 is typically a feasibility study. You get, depending on the agency who's granting it, is between $90,000 and $100,000. And then phase 2 is a prototyping phase. And depending on what level of prototyping you're doing, the government may take the prototype, but typically we let the small business keep the prototype, and we'll just try to partner with them in doing services. And an example of that is up here. The Small Business Innovative Research Strategy, it is for like NASA and Department of Defense, the services, is very evolved. And it's part of the overarching acquisition system. So for the Navy, all of SBIRs and tech transfers are worked through the Office of Naval Research and the Naval Research Lab. So they're looking at those low TRL, very high risk but high reward kind of things that we need invented for us, or an application fleshed out for us. At NOAA, the process has evolved over the past 5 or 6 years. When I first showed up at NOAA, there was one person in the SBIR shop managing all of the SBIRs. Kelly Wright has since grown the shop, and we're very successful in not just doing SBIRs, but also in doing creatives, which we've used very effectively in our program. Our program is the only program that has a true S&T strategy. We've gone from science technology to research and development to test and evaluation, and then transition to operations. And people in the acquisition world kind of understand those terms, but when you start off with a really tough problem and things need to be invented and integrated onto other systems, that's tricky stuff. And it needs to go from the invention to the research and development phase, tested in the lab first, then on a test bed, and then out in an operational environment. Those are the kind of things that we've walked through. Alaska is a great test bed. It's a great operational test place. DoD comes up here all the time to do tests because we need cold weather, we need really harsh environments to test our gear. Whether it's an F-18 or a tank or whatever, we come up here to do a lot of our tests. And NOAA is very proud to do the same. So this one application I'm going to start off talking about. The mission that we wanted covered for us is the gravimetry mission. Okay, it's called GravD. And this is a Navy NOAA mission. In CONUS, this is done by NOAA. Outside in the oceans and stuff like that, it's done by the Navy. These are painfully boring missions. All you do is 100-mile tracks back and forth. And the NOAA gravimetry mission is taken over by the National Geodetic Survey. Dr. Vicki Childers, who was at the Naval Research Laboratory, is now with NOAA, and she's in charge of the program. So we got together about 5 years ago and started talking about SBIR subtopics, and this came up. And she didn't believe that it could be done with an unmanned aircraft, because first, the sensor had a man in the loop where he had to cage and uncage the system as you're flying it. And then the flying is pretty precise. And if you could fly a 12-hour mission and land, and then look at the data, and the data could be no good. And you don't know that the data is no good until you're on the ground. So what we engineered in, and what specifically Aurora Flight Sciences engineered with folks from Micro-G, they had the sensor, and then with the help of our team, they had to automate the sensor, and then we wanted the health of data reporting to us throughout the mission. So we wanted a snapshot of the data saying, yup, you're good, you're good, you're good. Because if it, all of a sudden, in 10 hours into a 12-hour or 20-hour mission, if the data starts going bad, we want to recover the aircraft and try to fix it, right? So that was a big piece. And then working with different platforms was very interesting. So initially we thought maybe a Predator could do this mission, but then Aurora Flight Sciences came with this pilot optional aircraft. Now when we were doing the testing, it was pretty wild. So we were out there, and we actually had an Air Force test pilot, call sign Natasha. He's an F-16 guy. He was flying for us, but he wasn't really flying for us. We were sitting up in the control center looking down at him, and he had to keep his hands up, and his hands off the controls. And we actually have video. We had a camera in the cockpit, and then one behind him, keep an eye on him, making sure he wasn't helping us. But you know, click, the mouse click, taxi button, plane goes off, click, take off, and the plane's flown the entire time by the ground control station, okay? So it's going back and forth. He's up there, and I asked him, like, what do you do? And he's like, well, what do you do when you're flying the P3 around? I'm like, oh, I break out the newspaper. And he's like, yeah, that's what I'm doing too. He's got a book up there. But no, actually, he's sensing and seeing, avoiding, and keep an eye out. So what this provides us is we pre-program the whole mission in. And whether he's in the plane or he's on the ground is up to us. So in the current conditions, because we can't have, we don't have any sense and avoid on this aircraft. I mean, we do have some sense and avoid on this aircraft, but it hasn't been formally approved. We keep him in the plane. But he's not, I mean, the plane's flying itself. It's doing the whole mission. We come to find out the autopilot in this plane is better than the autopilot on our P3s, our King Airs, our Twin Otters. So the data is the best we've seen. So this was a great phase 2 transition. Now the big success that's a metric across the government is transitioning to phase 3 to get it out to commercial use, to get it out to government use, okay? So I didn't tell you why this data is important. First, the Earth isn't perfectly round, right? And the thing that affects the roundness of the Earth is really the gravity. And you also can sense a lot of things with gravity, right? It helps finding oil, minerals. For weaponeers, it helps us with cruise missiles. If you don't put in certain data into your cruise missiles, you're doing low-level flying, you can hit the planet. So that's why it was important for the Navy guys, submariners and aviators. And then for NOAA, again, it's part of the science. And it helps even with the river forecasting centers. It helps with the flooding maps. Okay, so that's why the data is so important. And we have to fly over the whole United States, Alaska, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, so all these places. So one of the things, you see the plane, and you see all that it can do. One thing that blows me away is the fuel burn. So 7 gallons per hour. And when I was saying earlier, remember the P3 was flying that mission, 750 gallons per hour, or the Twin Otter, King Air, 75 gallons per hour. Now we're down to 7.5 gallons per hour. So we're knocking zeros off, right? And then when I'm doing the analysis on the carbon footprint, it's pretty incredible. So, so this is wildly successful. They're flying missions out in California for the railroad company, because the railroad guys need to know really how the gravimetry in the local area, the mountains and such, are going to affect their gear. Here's another layout of the aircraft, and Natasha sits right up here, and then the gear is, our gravimeter is back here. In my other slide I had, we've already done a bunch of fit checks looking at different sensors that can go on the aircraft. What we've done is we want to put the PEMDAS system up here. Right now they have an ice detection system. We want to put that atmospheric sensor and the ice prediction system up here so that we can get good atmospheric sampling, met data every time he's airborne, every time they're flying. We're looking at also putting ozone or CO2 sensors in there. LiDAR, cameras, all can fit in there. We were talking a little bit about the gamma sensor earlier. So, you know, I want to fly multiple missions. So if I have any weight available to me, volume available to me, or power available to me, I want to put another sensor on there and get another second, third, fourth mission done. So that's where we are with this platform. Pretty neat platform. Does that, anybody have questions on this? Okay.
So as long as you got a LiDAR on board, have you considered contributing to the DTED database?
Yeah, so this would be the DTED, you know, background. This is important DTED data. And yeah, I mean, those are next steps. Those are things we're considering. So, you know, the oil and gas companies are interested. We're actually trying to push some of this into Canada as well. We had a Canadian customer that was looking at flying this. So we're gonna fly it. It's out in California now. We're gonna try to fly it in Colorado in the next month or two, and then over the next year, hopefully to get it up here. Okay, here's another platform that's currently out there. We've been briefed on, and we're looking at multi-agency interest in this plane. This is called the Orion. And it might look familiar to you because it looks a lot like a Global Hawk, right? So, and when you go to the hangar, it looks just like a Global Hawk, except you notice it has two prop engines on it. Those are diesel engines, okay? So again, the fuel burn on these engines are way down. These again are 10 gallons per hour type emissions. This is the current record holder for long endurance platform. This aircraft flew for 80 hours, set the long endurance record. And it came down, and you know why it came down? It had plenty of gas left in the tanks. But the Spectrum manager said, hey, we need our Spectrum back. So, you know, when we're going through our checklist of doing unmanned things, the Spectrum is about as important as it gets, right? So, you know, plenty of lessons learned. But me and Phil Kennel and the guys from NASA Langley just did another analysis of alternatives on high altitude long endurance platforms. And we looked through, you know, through a number of different types of platforms, including unique fuel cell, hybrid, solar type of UASs. And one of the things that we looked at was re-engineering this aircraft to get a little bit higher. So right now we're stuck at about 20,000 feet, and that might be good for a lot of mission sets. Some of our mission sets need to go a little bit higher. I mean, you can't, this plane can't fly into hurricanes. It's not an all-weather aircraft, neither is the Global Hawk. So, you know, we have to kind of get around it. But it is a capable platform. It may be re-engined. It is currently getting some funding, some DoD funding and Coast Guard funding, and we're kind of teamed with those folks that are looking at different opportunities, different mission sets. They actually call and ask, what might you do with this plane? So here's another layout. We already talked about the PEMDA system we would put up there for atmospheric sampling. But it has a 1,000-pound payload, so we can carry a lot of the gear that we currently are flying on other high-altitude long endurance aircraft. Also hard points, which is pretty neat. And if you're ever out in DC, if you're out in Manassas, go out to see these guys. They're very, very, very interesting folks. They invent aircraft. They do a lot of darker work and O&R work. So then, rolling back, these folks call and say, hey, we have the Orion, we may be flying different mission sets. What are some of the things you're interested in? And again, I go back to the national strategy, Noah's Arctic vision and strategy, and start working through some of the requirements. Again, you've seen these all, you should all be very comfortable with them. We talk about where we fly from our aircraft carrier in the Arctic, right, and heading north. They already have the command and control links that could enable us to go that direction. Again, these are some of our mission sets for each of the high altitude long endurance, medium altitude long endurance. So, you know, they were interested in possibly using the aircraft carrier in the Arctic. Now, a nod to our Hawaiian brethren here. This was the other mission that they were interested in. Okay, so this is a very, very famous, important national marine sanctuary, or national marine monument. So this is an old number. This is the 2014 number. Multiply it by 4. That just happened this year. So this is a joint mission area that the Navy keeps an eye on, NOAA keeps an eye on, Coast Guard keeps an eye on, Customs and Border Patrol keep an eye on. What goes on in here, now these are beautiful islands, and if you've ever flown out here, they're spectacular. Lovely monk seals that are endangered, sea turtles. I mean, it's a gorgeous area. What's going on there sometimes though is poaching, okay, illegal fishing. We have marine debris issues there. We have these huge nets, we call them ghost nets, with 16 miles of fishing nets that are cut loose or thrown over the side, or they're just lost by the fishermen. And these nets just roll through the ocean, and they collect everything there. They roll up the turtles, and they roll up the dolphins and whales, and they're trapped, and they just become a big hazardous mess, a big hazardous biomess. Well, one of Noah's missions is go out there. We hope to use satellite cueing, but over time, algae forms on these, so they become almost invisible by satellite. Tim V helped us out with an unmanned aircraft to help us go out there and tag these nets so we can go back out and find them. But this is a mission that is performed out there to protect the monuments. And then also there's a lot of just marine monitoring we have to do out there, right? So these shots were taken from a Puma. And in 2014, we went out there with the Puma and also the NASA Kana, which is a civilianized Predator B. And we patrol a lot of the area. We have research vessels that do regular patrols. Getting onto these islands, they're protected areas, so you show up with fresh sets of clothes. You put on these clothes. They've been wiped clean, and you put them in a freezer. You wear them once, so when you come back off the island, you burn them. Okay, so that's how sensitive and how pristine these islands are, and we take it very seriously when we're working with our Hawaiian partners on this. So we go out there, and instead of having to go out and go onto the land and to survey these critters, we're exploring using unmanned systems to help out and do that. So, again, the question was, can we get turtle counts using unmanned aircraft? Well, in 2014, we used these two. These, again, are the Puma shots. And then here's a Predator shot. This is from 18,000 feet. And a couple of mile standoffs. So you see marine debris there. You see the critters, so we can count. In these shots, we can read the tags on the critter, which is important for us to do the science. But if you could see from the Akana, we weren't able to. On this mission set also, we had a very sophisticated radar on the Akana called a Seaview radar. It's used by Customs and Border Patrol to do the maritime mission, and also by Coast Guard to do the maritime mission. It had maritime moving target indicators, so we're able to see all the ships that are out there. And we tie that to AIS or other kind of tracking, so we know it's either good guys, bad guy, or unknown. And then we start going and identifying who the good guys, bad guys, or unknown. If somebody's in that area and it's a good sized ship, we can image that ship with the radar and go, wow, that shouldn't be there. We can hail the ship then and say, what are you doing? What are your intentions? All those kind of things. So there's a lot of mission sets to be done there. Again, a really remote area, a big, big problem for all of us. We weren't effectively doing it even when it was this size. Now it's 4 times bigger. So that's another mission set that we were considering with these high altitude long endurance platforms. Whether it's the Orion that can stay out there for a week or another platform. Does anybody have any questions with this?
Are you familiar with the Sentient program?
Go ahead.
Let's talk later.
Okay. So this is the last slide, and again, this is stuff that Aurora Flight Sciences are working on. These are solar-powered aircraft. This one flew in 2008. It's called the Sun Eagle. And now there's another DARPA mission that's coming up. It'll be flown in the next year, and it's using solar power to stay airborne for months. So now we're getting into where is the sun up all the time? Where is an interesting place to fly? In Hawaii, right? During the summertime, or up here during the summertime. So that's discussion. They were asking for different mission sets we'd be able to fly in those two places. Any questions?
JC.
Yes, sir.
So on the optionally piloted aircraft, can I log flight time?
Yeah. So, I mean, these are the kind of things that we're struggling with. Like the Global Hawk guys for the Navy get to log about half that time. And they stay current typically in the P3 or the C12. But, and for NOAA, it's the same thing. The NOAA guys, they stay current in the C12 or